give me an example of that look like, because I think that's an important piece for us to be able to be aware of in this, because I have some ideas too, but I want to hear like
You want to,
not
here's
just a
here's a
not just a
grandmaster
theory,
level. I got a
right?
grandmaster level of what like absolute growth and humility looks like. So we use enneagrams often, like
Right.
especially in the Warriors Way. It's just one of the tools. It's not our this is not our everything, but it's really good to understand why do we do what we do. But there's also different levels of unhealthy average to healthy versions of each personality type. Now, let's say there's like the 10 stages that people can be, one being the healthiest, 10 being the least healthy. When you look at these 10 stages, from number two down, they all use an operation system that's very similar, just in healthier to less healthy ways. But the jump from number two to number one is like a Grand Canyon jump. It is not the same as the other steps where you level up, level up, level up. Now I've done a little more healthy. Now I'm a little more open. Now I'm a little more understanding. But you're still using the same defense system. You're still using the same operation system. But going from level two to level one is a complete inversion of the entire system. It's a complete surrender of the entire way that you operate in all the other stages. And being able to go to that level, if you want to nerd out, it's like going Super Saiyan. You go from like, I was doing this fighting style, but in order to ascend, I have to do a completely different jump. It's a totally different system, and that levels me up. So I'll give you a few examples. Just type 8, for example, the challenger, the leader type, most aggressive, very, very assertive, will jump into any fray, enjoys conflict, doesn't like bullies, will protect and stick up for anybody who they feel that's unjust, and they have their own system of justice. They do not do vulnerability. Most of my eights in groups end up washing themselves out. It's a high majority because they do not like to share in an open space because vulnerability is weakness, and I do not show weakness. This system of protection makes perfect sense, but it also becomes their prison because while they will block out all of the good, all the bad, they also block out the good because anger is their protection. Anger is a separator. This means their entire system eats itself. There's a missing piece to it. I will keep myself and others safe by being the biggest, strongest, and the meanest, but I also don't want to be alone, and my system pushes people away.
Yeah.
To take it to the very top level is to completely surrender the defense system that I attack first. I have to be the meanest. I have to be the hardest. I have to be the strongest. I am bulletproof. And to go into vulnerability. My eights have a hard time even complimenting people because it still gives a degree of rejection is a possibility. If I said, I'm so proud of you, or I love you, or I appreciate
Yeah.
you, and someone's like, I don't care, that's a rejection.
Yeah.
That starts to be
Yeah.
very painful. Betrayal is not necessary. Why would I give so much that I can be vulnerable to betrayal? Why would I open myself up to that? All they're going to do is just mistreat me. And with that system, they're going to defend themselves because that has always worked in the past. The reason that system is there is because it's had success. And you're telling me to go to level one to be able to ascend, I have to surrender what has worked my whole life. I
Yeah.
have to be open and vulnerable. That this cannot be the way. This does not make sense. But in order to hit that ascension, you have to surrender your ego and say, let me open it up. Go
Yeah.
ahead. I will say that I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I'll say that, man, I love you, or I appreciate you so much for what you did. Like, being able to be vulnerable, even in compliments, is one thing. To be vulnerable, and let me share one of the things that if you know this, you could hurt me with it.
Yeah.
Being able to connect with somebody to say, I am imperfect. I am not bulletproof. I have scars to prove it. Makes it so now we can connect instead of saying, you should follow me because I am invincible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy because I have far more connection now, being able to go, I am so proud of you, man. I believe in you.
Yes.
That is vulnerability, and most cannot do it. So to hit the highest level of this, that surrender of that armor had to be evolved into a very different, instead of old medieval clank clank armor, I had to go into Tony Stark nanotech. something that I can
Yeah.
turn on and off and use when needed.
Yeah.
And that is where you start getting into a mastery.